Welcome, everybody. This is our June meeting of the Economic and Workforce Development Committee of the Chamber. And we have special guests here today who are going to present a market overview of the Lynn area and the regional area. And I'd like to introduce Jim Boudrot from NAI, well, not NAI.
No. Just
from Hunneman
Yep.
Commercial.
Yep.
And who will introduce his team and start the presentation.
Yeah, great, thanks a lot. So actually, I'm going to kick it off to Peter Evans to introduce sort of our team and our company.
The host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves.
Yep.
You're unmuted, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I
Yeah.
was actually gonna, before you guys jump in, if I can just take a moment and just do kind of quick roundtable Mouseketeer roll call.
Even better, yeah.
Fire away.
Yes, my name is Jim Boudrot. I'm with Hunneman Real Estate in Boston. I've been there for over 25 years now.
Nice.
Dave Campbell with Hunneman also. I've been doing brokerage for over 25 years now. I've been at Hunneman for just hit my 3-year anniversary.
I'm Peter Evans. I'm the managing principal of Hunneman, and I've been in the business since 1992 in Boston.
Patrick Dealers from Dealers Brothers, co-chair of the committee of
Christine Pierce, Columbia Insurance Agency here in Lynn, and I'm the chair of the chamber.
Right, welcome, probably the same here in Lynn.
Glenn Morris Architects, and co-chair of the Economic and Workforce Development Committee.
No, EDP.
No, we changed it.
Again,
We changed it.
It's not formal.
And I've been in the architecture business since, and longer than these guys, believe it or not.
Dan Naismith, I'm the policy director in the mayor's office.
Rick Stabbard, Rick's out of collision, and I'm the Ward 2 City Council.
Jim.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jim Cowdell. I'm the executive director of EDIC for the city of Lynn.
Ed.
Morning, everybody. Ed Schatz from the Clock Tower Development Corporation.
Nikki.
Hello, I'm on the road. I apologize, but this is Nikki Schaefer, Economic Development from North Shore CDC.
Thank you. Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm a loan officer with Guaranteed Rate. My office is in Peabody, but I work in the Lynn area now. I'm new to the area.
Nice. We got a late addition.
Hello, Jim Keeley, K Security Systems.
All right, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Great. Peter, you want to?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for having us today, virtually and in person. It's nice to see people around the table. As I said, I'm Peter Evans. I'm the managing principal at Hunneman. I'm also an active broker, oversee the day-to-day operations, but just give you a quick snapshot of what Hunneman does and who we are. We are the largest privately owned full-service real estate company in New England. It's owned by the principals, of which Dave and Jim are both principals of the firm. Been in business since 1929, so we're going on our 93rd year right now. Full service from property management to appraisal, leasing, investment sales, lending. We really focus on our regional markets, regional owners. We don't do a lot of institutional work. Jim does quite a bit of work around the globe using his affiliations that he's earned. But we're really a regionally focused industry company. And you hire us, you get us. We're not, the three of us being here as principals, you might think is unusual, but this is actually how we represent our firm. We're very strategic and calculated on how we prepare for meetings like this. And we look at this as a great opportunity, not only to give you kind of our thoughts on what you guys are doing here in Lynn, which is incredible things, but also just to give you a sense of what's going on in the marketplace in general. We do have packages for some of you, and we will take an opportunity to send everything your way, and then you can distribute this deck to the entire committee For those that we didn't have, we had a little printer glitch last night at 5:30 in the office. And, with that, we're going to do a pretty high-level discussion. There's a lot more detail that we can provide to you, but we want this to be interactive. We'll probably interrupt each other every once in a while to add a thought or an opinion on certain things. So with that, turn it over to Jim. I guess you're going to kick it off.
Yep. So we sort of put together kind of the first part of it is just kind of a high level overview of the Greater Boston commercial market, and then we do a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the success stories. Patrick, you had said, hey, can you highlight a few of the towns and cities and communities that have done some things that have attracted some business, and of course that translates into jobs and taxes. So and then we kind of took more of a specific look at Lynn, and really looked at sort of the strengths and a couple of the challenges, and then we sort of finished with some recommendations. So just, and again, as Peter said, we're going to try and go keep this pretty high level and go through it pretty quickly, and then and please interrupt us with questions if you want to at any point. If you could go to keep going. Yeah, right there. So basically, sort of the overall positive outlook with general market stability. The market's doing great. Really all market sectors, the office, life science, industrial. Generally speaking, it's a healthy market. There's a lot of tenant demand. There's lots of new development happening all across the area. The rents are holding. We're seeing really in all sectors they're either stable or going up. And then there's very strong investor demand. There's a lot of properties are trading, and people are chasing real estate in Massachusetts. So overall, it's a very healthy market. Kind of post-pandemic, if I can say that, the employees are returning. We're seeing y'all see more traffic. There's just more return to work, which is good for real estate. A lot of companies are still hybrid. It's sort of a mix of you come in, you don't come in Monday and Friday, but you come in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. So that's probably here to stay. A lot of employees are really demanding that flexibility. They kind of got used to the hybrid work from home. When the employees return, we're seeing a lot of space being redesigned. There's the emphasis is on collaboration and well-being. There's a lot of outside space and the air quality improvements and focus on amenities, things like that. So then there's kind of a flight to quality. We're seeing the newer properties are getting a lot of attention. Class A, we'll dig into the numbers in a minute, but the Class A markets are just doing a little bit better. Meaning the Class A properties, and then newer buildings are doing better than some of the older buildings.
I think two misconceptions that people have in the market that don't live it every day is that the market was going to correct as a result of COVID, and it didn't. And I think it's because of all of the recent transactions that have occurred in the last 7 to 10 years in Boston for long-term investment holders, and that appetite for having real estate in Boston, they either they kept the rents the same or they actually raised them. And the tenants are, as Jim said, there's a flight to quality for that. And at a time when construction costs couldn't be any higher, it couldn't be any higher.
If you go to the next slide. So we're going to do the snapshots, kind of office, industrial, and then life science, and this is kind of like a lightning round. So just some of the highlights. The office market, again, it's about 200 million square feet in that's both urban and suburban in the Greater Boston area, about 200 million square feet in total. The availability, so that's both the direct space and subleases are at about 16% available right now, and is Peter said that the subleases are down. I mean they sort of spiked up pandemic, but they're coming down at this point. A lot of new construction. There's about 7 million square feet of Class A office buildings that are under construction right now, and things like Google and Kendall Square is putting up 7 million square feet of under. So, yeah.
So one Congress you see in Boston going to the Millennium Tower. You talked about Google. One post office square is considered it's a rehab, but it's new space coming on. They closed it to put new. And then South Station, there's believe it or not, after 20 years of talk, it's going up. That's the most amazing one to me, because they said, hey, we're going to develop it. Hey, and it's been Hines, the same owner, for all these years.
And that was all spec, right?
And everything, and we're going to get into the spec, but everything that's going up right now is being basically built without any pre-leasing at all, lab and office.
And I thought all that construction would kind of halt them for a while. It's crazy.
No pre-leasing.
The only thing holding people back right now is timelines and budgets for construction. Construction budgets are good for about 72 hours. Literally, that's what that's all we do.
And then so the office rents, we combine sort of the Class A and Class B. Boston, $63 a square foot. Cambridge, 83, and the suburbs 27 a foot. Those are all full service gross, and combining A and B. And if anyone's curious, we can sort of get you much more specific about locations, but that's sort of a general number. We're seeing a lot of office to lab conversions, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the life science section, but there's about 3 million square feet of older office buildings that are being converted to lab space. So that's impacting the market. And then the last comment on the office space is there's about 4 million square feet of tenants in the market. So it's healthy. It's just there's still a lot happening in the office sector. Switching to industrial, that's about 180 million square foot market. And that's urban, suburban, warehouse, flex, and manufacturing. So the whole basket is about 180 million square feet. Vacancy.
Excuse me 1 minute. Can you flip up to the industrial?
It's right here, but I can make it bigger.
The vacancy in the industrial market is about 5.3%. So very, very healthy. Low vacancy rates there. The demand remains strong, especially with the high bay warehouses. We're seeing a lot of onshoring and e-commerce. With the onshoring, it's people just want the products closer to home, whether it's medical or defense or technology. Just people want it. They want it here. They don't want it overseas right now. And then with e-commerce, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But Amazon is the big one. They've got, I don't know, it's just millions and millions of square feet. Fewer large blocks of space are available, and they're just getting harder to find. So if you need 100, 200,000 square feet, it's tougher to find it. Rents are way up. Rents are about $14 a square foot triple net. And that's sort of across the board in all sectors. And the so what there, it's about 25% higher than it was a year ago. So just that lack of inventory and then the high demand, it's just driving the rents up. So again, very, very healthy. There's about 12 million square feet of new industrial construction in the pipeline. And a lot of that, the new construction is the high bay, it's 30 foot clear ceilings. And a lot of it's advanced manufacturing. So it basically advanced. I mean, if you think, high ceilings, lots of power, lots of cooling, and that's advanced manufacturing buildings. There's the whole e-commerce thing, we're seeing about 9 million square feet of demands in the market, and that's Walmart's, Target's, Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, FedEx. 9 million square feet of retailers looking for a warehouse space in Massachusetts. It's remarkable. Amazon is really kind of the one to watch. I mean, they account for about 60% of all of the new industrial construction. So there's some talk about them slowing down a little bit. So I think that's something to watch. They've got a 1.5 million employees, and they've got so much space in North America that I think it's close to 400 million square feet of space in North America, which if you imagine all of the office space and all of the industrial space that we have, the 380 million square feet here, that's what Amazon has in North America. It's staggering.
It's like stay-at-home Rhode Island.
Yeah, and then switching to life sciences, again, sort of the lightning round here. There's about 35 million square feet of life science space in Massachusetts. 35 million. And kind of the quick breakdown: Boston has about 7 million of that, 1.4% vacancy. Extremely tight. Cambridge has 13 million square feet, 0.8% vacancy. In the suburbs, is about 15 million square feet of life science space with about 4% vacancy. So across the board, very low vacancy for the life sciences. Super high demand for it, and not a lot of it. It's really the funding is driving the demand for the lab space. There's been about $90 billion with a B, $90 billion worth of funding in the last couple of years into the life sciences across the country, and that's venture capital, pre and post IPO money, public money, and then NIH. Those are sort of the big funding drivers for the life sciences. Currently, we do a lot in life science. We're tracking about 125 lab space requirements in Massachusetts, 125, and that they total about 10 million square feet of space. So if you can imagine, 10 million square feet of space is looking for a home in Massachusetts in the life sciences. That the clusters are really the drivers here, like the lab clusters. And the clusters are driven by the universities, hospitals, other life science companies, and Massachusetts is really the number one cluster in the world. It's Massachusetts and then California, kind of the San Francisco probably specifically, but Mass and California are the big cluster states, and between the two states, we get about 60% of that funding that I talked about. So the $90 billion, about 60% of it's coming to either Mass or California. We're seeing a lot of ground up lab construction and lab conversions. There's in Massachusetts, we're projecting about 30 million square feet of new lab construction. That's new construction and conversions, but 30 million square feet in the next 5 years. So if you think about it, we've got 35 million square feet now, another 30 million square feet is being built. So we're effectively doubling our inventory of lab space in Massachusetts over the next 5 years. So think opportunity here.
I mean, is Jim, just not to interrupt, but the conversions, when he says conversions, we're talking about the first 4 floors at 100 Summer Street, which is an office tower in downtown Boston. 745 Atlantic is being converted to 100% lab, 51 Sleeper Street. And engineering buildings now 100%. 470 Atlantic Avenue going 100% lab.
First 7
The
floors.
whole building will be.
It's not. It's not. There's no new construction. There's no land. So you've got land constraints, and then you've got, 600 Congress Street, which was the Hancock, insurance building all the way down to Seaport. That's 100% lab now. The Boston Globe building is pivoting to go lab. It's amazing. It's not just it's not just, tricky little buildings, it's real office buildings in downtown Boston that are now becoming lab. So it's hard to wrap your head around that, but as you drive by these buildings, you think about them now being filled with scientists and chemicals and everything else.
And it's speed to market too, because this demand for this space, they want it built. So you're way ahead of the game by having a structure, even though the conversion takes some time. So you have that, and it's also, it's vacant office space that is now just being completely taken off the market. So it's keeping the fundamentals of the market tighter, because now the landlords, they don't have to lease office space, they're going to lease lab. And, so the supply comes down and the vacancy comes down and rents stay high.
So is it premium for life science?
Yeah. So that's a great question.
Incredible.
The lab, the average lab lease cost in Massachusetts, and this is obviously a range, Kendall Square is going to be, super high, and it gets a little bit less expensive out in Devon's, but the average is about $90 a square foot triple net, 90 triple net. So, we were talking about, the office space in the suburbs and the sort of the high 20s, and that's, and you have to even change it because it's a high 20s full service gross.
Right.
For like, if it's, say there's an office building in Waltham, and if it's an office building and it's $40 a foot gross, you've got to back off, $15 for, taxes, operating, insurance. So it's when you get down to that net number, lab guys typically talk about triple net numbers. So when I say $90 a square foot triple net, then you also have to pay for taxes, insurance, common area maintenance, utilities, and utility costs can be high, right? I mean, So
and getting higher.
Yeah. So if you can convert your building to lab or life science, but one of the challenges is you need infrastructure. It's got to have the floor loading and you need air handlers and power and gas, and you've got to
probably a lot of rooftop construction as well.
You might have to add dunnage on the roof, so you can add the air handlers, and you need the power and the gas to run it. And then there are these other questions like there's zoning issues. You gotta have the right zoning, and then there's wastewater treatment and gases and safety, and so to get that premium, you have to go through some hoops. But if you can get $90 triple net, or relatively speaking where you are, whether it's Kendall Square or Devon's or anywhere in between.
Now with the $90 triple net, who's paying for the build up?
So great question. So with that metric, most of the lab landlords will do the base building work. And that can be hundreds of dollars a foot to sort of get the infrastructure up and ready. And then on top of that, there's the tenant improvement allowance is usually about $200 a foot. It could be 300. Anywhere between $200 to $300 a foot. So you gotta spend money to get the money.
But just the 200 you're getting on that tenant improvement allowance as a tenant, that's not covered. You're paying, it's costing you $350. So you're paying 90, and it could be more. I mean, it's going up every day, as we said, but you could be paying 90 triple net plus 150 per square foot to cover the underfunding of the TI. So there's just
gets expensive,
huge upfront money that you need to get into these buildings.
Enormous. And then to actually build a new thing kind of out of the ground, it's we're seeing anywhere between $700 and $1,300 a square foot to build it new. And again, it depends on where it is, but it's expensive to build it.
Jim, you mentioned zoning, big issue, and what you just talk about the city of Boston. Did the city of Boston have to do anything on their zoning code to allow all of these conversions in the downtown area?
It depends on the building. Yeah, really, it depends on the building. There's, the previous administration before Mayor Wu took over was a lot more construction development friendly. So a lot of these things have been kicked off in the previous administration. There's a little bit of frustration right now with developers for Mayor Wu's focuses on affordable housing as it should be, right? But she's not very pro-development. So there's a little bit of a lag in that right now.
But in Boston, you have a fairly difficult zoning review for everything.
Correct.
Because of the large project, major project review process.
But in addition to that, the building there has to be some sort of certification level for the building. It's got bronze, silver, gold, and platinum.
The bio ready ratings. Yeah. And Patrick, generally speaking, almost all of the communities are interested in life sciences and sort of being very proactive, and just their approach to it.
Everybody advertises themselves as the new Kendall Square.
Yeah, right. And I do want to mention some potential headwinds. I mean, you may see it in the news. I mean, there have been some disappointing clinical trial data, as few FDA rejections. But our strong opinion is that we're only in the second inning of the life sciences. I mean, it's just, there's a few challenges right now, but there's just a lot of runway there. I mean, it's absolutely worth investing in. Dave's going to address some examples of success.
Yeah, so I want to give some examples of some projects that are relevant to Lynn, because there's similarities. And you brought up it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere, but I'm going to kind of go backwards with the themes that you're going to see through these. You need a good site, and it might just be sitting there ready, or it might have to be pulled together through the acquisition of a number of properties. You need expertise. Not every developer can just go build this. Hey, we're office build. We're going to go build lab. It's a specialized construction process. So you're going to see a lot of local developers that are with big funded, largely backed investors that are with them on joint ventures. So the investors want to put the money in. They don't always know how to develop it, and they'll bring in a local group to do that. It's happening everywhere. So we're going to give you examples of, Boynton Yards, Suffolk Downs, Malden, Devons. It's happening on Route 3. Yes, Lexington, Waltham.
Riverside.
Riverside and Newton. I mean, so any place now that has the availability is certainly looking. And again, for all the principles we talked about earlier, which is, the return is great, because you can get double the burbs, you're getting triple the rents that you can get for office, triple. And in the city, you're getting at least double. So that's important. It's a lot of big money too. So, and we haven't seen really many failures, but a lot of these backers are so well funded that they can take a hit here and there, because they're making it over here. And even some of the bigger developers are invested in a lot of the companies themselves that are leasing their buildings. So it's kind of but anyway, spec development is happening everywhere too. We talked about that before. Every single project, every single one that you see going up is not pre-leased. Basically, you might find one or two, but it was kind of, hey, you're getting ready to build, we'll lease that. It's really, they're going off, walking the plank everywhere. And then we're going to bring up this GMP, which is good manufacturing practices. This is a new product because you have the lab buildings going up, and then they develop the drug, and then you need to manufacture the drug. So there's a lack of facilities in the area that have the ability to do that. So there's now a lot of GMP development that's taking place, and the closer they can be to the lab building, the better. So you're going to hear a lot of GMP in the news coming up, because it's now happening.
Is that what we used to call pilot plants?
Probably similar, very similar. Yes.
What kind of square footage does these GMPs kind of require?
Well, it's more about it's different sizes, but look at it, probably about 100,000 feet of high bay specialized, like a warehouse space, and it depends. So I'll jump backwards to go to Devon's.
Yeah.
King Street Properties just bought 45 acres there.
Yeah.
And they're gonna develop 700,000 feet of GMP across 5 buildings. So right now, they're already started building one, tenants come along and they're close to commitment. So then they're gonna go start building 2. So they're not throwing it all out there at once, but they're gonna go methodically. And that's pretty much kind of the norm, 100 to 150,000 square foot building size.
Yeah, so from an urban environment, it's not necessarily.
I mean, Moderna, who's near and dear to everybody's, vernacular today, they expanded by 550,000 feet in Norway at an old industrial park. And so now they have a total of 750,000 square feet in Norway. They also have 500,000 square feet in County Square, but their GMP is all in Norwood. And so that's where the manufacturing takes place.
Good, believe it or not, just good manufacturing practices. Should be something different. That seems like we don't need an acronym for that, but we do.
You mentioned advanced manufacturing.
Yeah, same thing. So yeah, so GMP would fall under the advanced manufacturing. And just picture, as Dave said, picture a 100,000 square foot box with really high ceilings, 30-foot ceilings, very clean, lots of power, and lots of air conditioning. And they make the drugs, and they make it's like they.
My thought is, in your research, what have you determined with the infrastructure? Electric cars and all this construction and all this demand on the power grid. Is there anything that you've seen in your research that prove that? You can have all these buildings requiring all these heavy pieces of equipment and make in trouble.
It's a concern, and I know that in Cambridge, they're addressing that right now in East Cambridge, and it's these these buildings draw a lot of power, so it really comes down to power and air conditioning for a lot of the advanced manufacturing and the pharmaceutical manufacturing. But yeah, good point.
He does have a good point. Remember when we used to worry about with high-tech offices, whether we could get 8 watts per square foot?
Yeah. Now.
Yeah.
Did you see that type of construction in kind of power plants or anything like that?
No, in fact, the old Edison plant down in Southie is being converted to an entirely mixed use development.
Yeah, keep an eye on it, because that's a great question, because I don't think that's come up or been.
I haven't.
Well, everybody's putting basically a stove in the driveway.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I know we got to keep.
No,
So let me, do you want me to run down a couple of these examples, or
Yes.
just?
I do have one question really fast, just for the layman in the room. I know there's a couple of people in the room say 1 million square feet, and they know exactly what that means. Are we talking from one of these GMP plants or something the size of a Walmart, or something 10 times that size?
Walmarts are typically at 50,000 square feet, so it would be something twice the size of a typical Walmart box.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah. In fact, there are a lot of dilapidated, retailers that are being converted to GMP space right now because because the demand in industrial. If you think about your regular old industrial buildings that didn't have a ton of power, they were just, they're warehouses. Those are being converted now too. And so the demand is, people are getting as creative as they possibly can. And the medical.
Yeah, okay,
the whole medical side of things, they're converting, moving out closer to their patients. They're trying to convert industrial products into medical.
So,
Can I just ask a quick question? Have you, looked at the landscape in Lynn at all?
We do, yeah. Actually, we're going to jump to that. So,
because we have so much commercial, what was once commercial space, being turned into residential housing. In a city where we don't have the public safety, public works, or public education systems to adequately handle what we've already got for housing. But it would be great to see that land used once again for commercial purposes.
So this
GE sites that had massive power.
Absolutely.
You know,
So
on site.
this first example, Boynton Yards in Somerville, which backs up to Kendall Square. I mean, it's junkyards, it's former meat packing, bakeries, all kinds of. So Leggett McCall, the expert DLJ, the money behind that, they assembled all these different parcels, 7 acres of it. And now it's a 1.8 million square foot project. 1.3 million is going to be life sciences, 450,000 of apartments. And, you know, that comes with 2 acres of green space. Flagship Pioneering came in, the first building was underway. They came in, took the whole thing, 280,000 feet. So the second building is now underway. So the benefits to the local area that are estimated are 15 million in tax revenue, 13.5 million to the Affordable Housing Trust, and then 3.25 million to the Green Line extension. So there's mitigation of all kinds of different things that come out of these projects for the community. You know, and you think about Lynn, and you've got, you know, the Lynn Way, which seems like the logical place where, hey, some of these properties could be combined and maybe you can do some GMP or something. Certainly GE plant, it would be #1 property.
How big is Gearworks?
I forget how many acres that is. Pat, do you know?
I don't.
Gearworks is 60 acres.
It's
60
Gotta
acres.
say the guy in the
Oh,
back.
So
Wrong one.
So I think that the best,
Thank you, Jim.
But half of that is underwater and the sides are.
so the best example going on right now, which is probably amazing, everybody here, Suffolk Downs. Suffolk Downs, that what they're breaking ground on right now is biotech, a lab building, which was supposed to be residential. And they pivoted. They said, wait, there's all this demand. We're going to go spec lab in Revere. So to me, that's amazing. But that's HYM is Tom O'Brien. He's the developer. Just did a deal with National Real Estate Advisors out of Washington, D.C., $775 million they've given to the project. Now this is a massive project, right? That's going to be 16.2 million square feet of total development. 161 acres, 5.2 million is going to be life sciences now, 450,000 retail, 10,000 apartments, you know, and so the benefits to the area, really, it's tax revenue, it's jobs, it's open space parks, you know, so there's going to be all kinds of other things over time. And that's really spread out over 10 to 15 years is when this whole thing is going to come together. But to me, I drive through their home every day, Suffolk Downs, and I can't believe they're doing lab. So for, you know, that's for every community around here, it's doable because there's this demand out there. There really is. And Lynn could grab some of the demand, I think, personally. Malden's getting into the game. They have an old back office bank, you know, filing buildings, 350,000 feet, 200 exchange. Berkeley Investments bought it, and they've done a joint venture now with Singerman. This is a company that's looking around for investments. They've invested 135 million into that building, and that's going to be a mix of lab and GMP uses on the lower floor, and it's got retail on the ground floor. Malden's really making a move. They're a little behind the scenes. Somerville really stepped up, changed their zoning. Their mayor, former mayor, was really pro-business. Malden is starting to catch up a little bit. The project we're doing at 22 Pleasant Street, which we're marketing, which is in the permitting stage right now. And so just, you know, educating really the local government on the benefits to Malden, because they don't want to change anything in Malden. And if you went to Malden, you drive down, you know, Pleasant Street and go, they should be changing some of this stuff because it's 1950 there. So but you have to kind of change that thinking sometimes to say, hey, other communities are doing it. So they're doing it with a bunch of different things there. 11 Dartmouth Street, another 180,000 square foot development to go with 22 Pleasant, 180,000 square foot life science development. So that's happening all around here. And then you go out to, like I said, we were talking about Devon's. We already talked about Devon's. Billerica, Bedford, you know, it's amazing what's happening. The demand it's insatiable demand, 125 lab requirements right now.
So I know we gotta keep moving, so if we jump to the city of Lynn. So we just took a kind of a quick look at the strengths and a couple of the challenges, and we really see the leadership is amazing here. I mean, we're with the mayor and the city council, EDIC, the Greater Lynn Chamber of Commerce. We're just sensing there's a real mission here to make something happen, which is exciting. It's the infrastructure. We sort of look at it a little bit, and we're seeing really good infrastructure here. We noticed that you sort of are upgrading the buyer ready status with it's gold now, and we're wondering if that can inch up to platinum. It's like I think that probably is it looks like it's in the works or getting close. Or we looked at the commuter rail with the 2 stops, and I know there's the ferry, or there's some talk about the electrification of the trains, and it's just the more we look at it, the more we're liking it. It's real estate, guys. The proximity to Boston, Cambridge, Logan Airport. Bob and I were talking about this. It's you're 6 miles to Logan. It's like that connection is meaningful. The area amenities are amazing here with the restaurants and the cultural district and the educational district, and you've got diversity and open space and recreation and Lynn Woods and Gannon, and so the more we're looking, the more we're liking. So you got a good story here. A couple of the challenges, and really the biggest challenge is the lack of product. I mean, we got to find places to put the real estate. Whether it's on Bob's site or the master plan on the waterfront, or the former GE site, which is pretty amazing real estate. Next one is just kind of the limited highway access. I mean, you're so close, but you're not on a major highway. So we just sort of figure out how to make that as good as it can be. Whether it's looking at the Bell Circles and Revere and the connections, and how does it all work? How do you make it all connect and be very efficient? And then the third challenge that we saw is just kind of a lack of outside awareness. We've each been doing this for 25, 30 years, and we were all commenting that, we just, shame on us and shame on you. We haven't spent a lot of time here. So, and we need to educate everybody about, hey, what's here and what can be here and where's it all going? So I think
if I could just add to one of the strengths, you've got kick-ass vocational school steps off of the Linway.
Yep.
And a lot of the challenges for kids that go there, coming from that state-of-the-art advanced manufacturing program that millions have been recently put into, and it's absolutely amazing. But a lot of the challenges the kids in that school face with employment is transportation. So if they could have their jobs at Lynn and walk from the school.
And there are a lot of jobs in these new uses that don't require a college degree either. They're training focused, and they're like $60,000-$70,000 starting pay. And that's one of the big things they're touting at Suffolk Down, is that they're going to create all these jobs that don't, you don't have to have a million degrees to work in a life science company. You don't, there are different levels, but there's other important jobs that you can get into. Wood training.
When we became a member of Mass Bio back in 2006, I was on the HR committee. That's what they were all saying. We scientists and things like that, but we need people to work in the facilities that put the drugs together, the packaging, like.
That's right.
We need, and kids don't realize they can go into a job like that.
Yeah, they pay well.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think from our perspective, kind of manufacturing stands out as a lot of potential for the city with the history of manufacturing and history of these sites. I mean, these sites needed a lot of water and sewer and infrastructure capacity. I think on our end, we're trying to think about kind of connecting those workforce development dots and how do we let folks know at Lynn Tech, North Shore, that these jobs are available and they need these types of skills.
Yep, we totally agree. Looking at it from a real estate perspective, I mean, we think the advanced manufacturing and the pharmaceuticals and the CGMPs, the life sciences, I mean, that it feels like a home run for you guys here. And the last thing we want to talk about is just some recommendations.
Was that stone building a conversion, lab conversion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim touched on it. I mean, we gotta sell the dream, right? But you guys are doing all the right things. I mean, you're fire ready, gold, you've got land. You just have to figure out the best path to redevelopment. Nobody's gonna be a pioneer in land. GE's been here since the 1800s, right? I mean, and they're still here. And Eastern Bank has had their headquarters here forever. Nobody's gonna be a pioneer in this marketplace. But transportation is really critically important to figure out how to get to people here. And there's just no development. We were talking yesterday, we're trying to think about the last time we've heard about an opportunity in Lynn for something to lease, whether it was commercial or retail, and we couldn't come up with one.
Bob's site.
Except for Bob's site. Bob's site was the only one. But literally, we couldn't. And we can't say that about any of the other communities that surround it. And that's an awareness issue.
So, and just a few other things that, we see that are successful in other communities, that like the single point of contact. So if I'm a big, life science company and I want to look at Lynn, I want to, who do I call? Who's the one person I call? If this
on that screen.
So, yeah,
there he is.
All right, perfect. Single point of contact, one-stop permitting and approvals. If you can expedite we've had deals like we've worked on massive deals where the whole town gets in a conference room over the weekend. They got everybody in the room and they're just like, hey, we want this. We're going to make it easy. And we're going to sit here for 3 hours and just bang it out and figure it out on a Saturday. I mean, we literally have seen that where the whole town or city gets in a room and figures it out, makes it easy. The promotion of a cluster, whether it's, life science or robotics, some sort of advanced manufacturing, or we think that life science is the right cluster for you guys as an extension of what's happening in Boston, Cambridge. But just if you could sort of say, hey, we're gonna create one and make it work here. We talked a little bit about the public transportation and calling. We talked about the electrification of the train. If you can really, increase the frequency and sort of make that connection stronger. And with the ferry, if the ferry goes, send the ferry to Seaport, send it to the right place and make it reliable. It's like if you're gonna do it, run the thing. 5 days a week, 12 months a year. Because if that's going to be my commute, I have to know that it's going to run and it's going to be there every day.
Is that coming back?
We're working on it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
We're actually working on mitigation funding right now.
Okay.
Trying to get it.
I told Jim every time we talk about I talk about economic development in a chamber thing, I always mention the ferry.
That's amazing. I thought it was amazing.
Yep. And then just, I know you have some good incentives, so workforce training and equipment construction. But just if you could just really promote that and just sort of just get it out there and do it a lot. If somebody says, hey, I might be interested, throw it at them, in a big way. And then really the last thing is just kind of where we started, the branding and the marketing and the PR and the selling the vision, and get guys like us, say, hey, all right, sell it understand it, internalize it, and then sell it. And that's what we do. That's what we're good at. So, it's sell the vision, and because you kind of have it. You have it all here. So
there's money looking for sites and opportunities. And I think that if you could tell me, hey, this is developable and this is developable, there are groups that we've just talked about that would look to develop
here.
They call us every day saying, what are we buying? You know, where are we going?
Yeah.
They literally call us every day. So you gotta, you know, let us help you connect the dots. So.
Yeah.
So after this meeting, we're going to set a second meeting with this guy right there, Jim. Or his team, and he can show you the whole picture of
that'd be great.
Lynn and development. And actually, I'm gonna sell you guys on a idea. Come to the State of the Region event. It's about 3 weeks from now. I'll get you all the information. But the Lynn, the Hot, and Swampscott, all their town leadership comes out and promotes and talks about really the state of the region. It's where have we been over the past 6 months? Where are we going over the next 2 years? So if you're really looking to gain that picture and insight, that's a great opportunity for you guys to do that as well.
That would be great. Great, yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going to open up to some questions to the room. Jump right in if anyone's got them.
I'll take one. So I'm intrigued by the fact that, you know, some of these life science developments incorporate a housing component.
Right.
And in your experience, is that like the better approach, or does it help a community to attract the business portion of it, if it can incorporate a housing component?
Yes.
With it?
Yes. I mean, amenities are the #1 word with every development right now. So you want to, whether it's within your development or outside the doors of your development, you want nearby amenities. You want housing, you want restaurants, you want other entertainment venues, you want community, you know, you want something to lure people in and attract them to that site. And most of these have a residential component, because a lot of employees are going to want to actually, being creatures of habit, we're going to want to walk across the street home and not have to commute and not have to do this and that. So yeah, that's.
Do any of them have hotel components?
Not many have hotel components that are in the actual development itself. That's just, I think that's a different world. But I'm sure some of the bigger lifestyle centers out there do, or there's a nearby
Watertown,
or yeah,
Arsenal.
Yeah, well, the Arsenal, yeah, but I mean that's really, we didn't even talk about Watertown, which is a whole nother story of amazing success in an area. They don't even have public transportation coming in there, and they're everything they put into the ground leases before it even goes up.
Do you think that the connectivity between Malden and Lynn, you know, I don't know that we see a 25-story, you know, lab tower going in. I think it's more of a GMP facility as opposed to that. But where in Somerville or in Revere, that's where they're going to try to get the scientists to go create, and then they need to be manufactured someplace. So you've got a really good opportunity to touch markets, and it's less infrastructure on your police, your fire, your schools, you know, emergency personnel, and it's less traffic than an Amazon distribution facility. That's a huge.
That was
problem.
a big issue on Needham, on the Muzzy site.
Yeah.
And now it's like science.
But I mean, the Necco facility is, you know, caused a major cluster at the Rotary, and a lot of towns, particularly Charlestown, Somerville, they don't want any more distribution facilities. They're not allowing it. I think you've got a really good opportunity to cast a wide net. You just need to be ready.
Yeah, life science is about 1 person per 500 square feet. And you're seeing a lot of office today as 1 person per 150 square feet. So, and more in a time frame, whereas life sciences, people work all kinds of different times. It's a different ball of wax, the way that we're used to 9 to 5. I mean, that doesn't work for anybody anymore, but that's way off of 9 to 5.
I remember the days when we used to say, oh, you've got 50 employees, multiply that times 300.
Yeah, yeah, they have people come in 11 and they'll leave at 10 at night, 11 in the morning. They just work their hours need to do. So.
There was a story in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago that the worst traffic day is Wednesday, because everybody's in on Wednesday.
That's true. That's true. What's today? Oh,
I have a quick question for you guys. With regard to minimum square footage to sort of attract people, what are those numbers with those categories that you described?
I think in Lynn, because you basically there hasn't been any development that, you need to start with kind of a bigger development. I think that it'd be more difficult to attract, say, a 50,000 square foot user. I think if there's a bigger area of land that could be developed, and then there's kind of a proof that, hey, this is an area that works, then you'll kind of fill in around that. But I think the first one should be, if you have it and can pull it together, would be a larger land site that's kind of master planned for something.
You talking to more of the.
I think 250 would probably be a good starting point, like a minimum starting
That's
point.
subdivided.
Yeah, with
Right.
with the ability to expand up to maybe 1 million square feet, or more.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Would a 60-acre site be intriguing?
That would be. I think I know the one you're talking about. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a logical place to do that.
And the economies of scale are bigger too.
And I know that was going to be all residential, and I, just thinking that there could still be a residential component to that. It makes all the sense in the world is, scale down the residential and then have a business around it. And it could almost be a lifestyle center in there. And that would be a game. That'd be a game changer.
With a train stop.
That'd be a game changer for the entire area.
Up here.
Can I say a few things, guys?
Go for it, Jim.
Hey, first of all, Peter, Jim, Dave, thank you so much for coming to Lynn. Look forward to working with you. Just a couple of points on your recommendations. Totally agree with the marketing comment that you made. We've got such a great story and major projects that are happening in the development community has found us. But outside of Lynn, a lot of times people only hear about Lynn in a bad sense. We've got to do a much better job of marketing our assets. I think we have a great story to tell. Couple of points. We are one of only 2 municipalities that are a member of Mass Bio. So we're a member there. We expect very soon to hit platinum level. The city council, and Rick is there, they passed a life science ordinance, which we were told by Mass Bio, once that's adopted, we would reach the platinum status. So we're happy about that. Mass Bio is in, what time is it? 9:32, 10 o'clock this morning. They're here in Lynn doing a tour. And so we've identified 7 or 8 properties. We sent it to them. They're interested. Now they want to see it. So it's just a commitment that the mayor has, the city council has. We really want life science here. And so we totally agree with you in your analysis regarding life science. And then my last comment would be, I am the point person, but the mayor and I sat down right before he even took over office, and we talked about the process. So if a developer comes and says sits down with us and says that they want to open up in Lynn, we immediately put a team together. We recently met with Samuels, who I know that you folks know. We had the mayor, we had the planner, the housing director, the ward council, the council president, the ISD director, the community development director. We had everybody literally that would touch this project sitting around the table. And it was just, really blew them away. And we were able to do a deal with them that you'll be hearing about shortly. But so the bottom line is we definitely want to work with you throughout the welcome mat. Anything you can do to help bring development to our city, we would definitely want to work with you on that.
Thank you.
Great. Excellent.
Any other comments, thoughts? While we're here, I always like to try to end on time. But with that, I want to thank you guys very much for being here, and we're very hopeful to see a lot more of your faces in Lynn, not only at our golf tournament, but showing the amazing assets and properties that we have available in Lynn.
I promised Jim that we would go to Gannon, so.
I already sold one of your foursome spots.
I'm running one for that vocational school at the end of January. Small.
Nice.
You want to come to that one? Heck in it.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you for
Hey,
coming.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Really
Yep.
appreciate it.